Hey, today we're going to be talking about Virgo, the sixth stage of the alchemical process. Now we went through Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. We'll do Leo. We're a little bit out of order. I'm going to be going in. There's going to be a course available for the 12 stages, and that'll be available in the description below in the coming weeks, in the next videos, where you can get all 12. But essentially, we're going to be going into Virgo, because distillation is a very important process when it comes to the alchemical process and understanding the sacred secretion and exactly how these mystical stories that we learn about, as we know that, as a great Bill Donahue said, that myths don't happen so that they do act, so that they actually do occur. Because remember, the truth is hidden in many of these mystical symbolic stories, tells. Even the laboratory work of the alchemist is a hidden allegory for the inner mechanisms of the soul, the mind, and the body, and how it works together to formulate the ascension of the soul and the self-actualization of the being, which is theosis, which would be full and complete understanding, comprehension, and merging with the creator, but will still maintain your separate, dignified separation. So let's get right into it. So in alchemy, distillation, we know that the process of distillation is the process of heating a liquid. This process, let's go right into it like this. See, the process of heating a liquid by a process of heating and cooling. This heating and cooling allows the water to transform into those vapors. In the same way in our body, the kundalini and its gross material form of the physical state, as the heat or the cauldron is warmed up, begins to distill and evaporate and become a distillation. The spinal column is a distillery, and those vapors are what rise up the spinal column, all 33 vertebrae. It's like it's a pressure valve system as well as a distillery. The distillation happens from the sun. On the outside realm, as you can see in the picture, the sun is reflecting off the mirror or the mind and purifying this vessel by extracting the vapors, which are then purified, and the gross material stays within the vessel. This happens with us with the inner sun. The ancient Gnostics, the ancient Christians, the ancient mystics knew that the sun was a symbol of the inner Christ, or the inner Lord within, which is the inner I am consciousness, which is deviated and divided between all the individual incarnated souls, that springs forth from the unified principle, the Father, Mother, Deity, the monad. The monad becomes the dyad. That dyad produces all things. So the extraction of the essential meaning, or the more important aspects of something, such as allegory, and when we look at our life as a mythological journey, as the sun goes through the 12 zodiacs, so we also triumph through the 12 trials of Hercules. So we also have to articulate and self-actualize the 12 separate intelligences within us, so that we can also become fully mature and bloom and blossom just like a flower. A flower has to go through various processes until finally it comes to its complete form. And from that form, we know that flowers also wilt and die, and then they even the perennial flowers continue to regrow. So we have that process of eternity in nature that we see, and also other processes, because in this realm of duality, we always have those oppositions. So when we extract the essential meaning, or the most important aspects of something, that means when we take, for example, the story of some of the stories, like for say the story of Jesus turning water into wine, and we extract the essential meaning out of that, which shows the miracles of the sun, the miracles of light, how light purifies water, how light creates all things, how light is the prime manifester of the elements which make up all things that we see. So the story is anagogical. It comes from a deeper level, so that we can kind of peel back the layers and see that, and this is exactly how we distill. See, distillation doesn't only happen in the spinal column with kundalini, or by heating up a liquid and extracting vapors from water, or when the sun evaporates water and water rises and becomes clouds, and clouds produce thunder. This also is a process of extracting the meaning, or the hidden meanings and symbolic factors of our everyday life. So these lower energies have heated up and are now vaporizing up the spinal canal. As we have taught in the previous videos, the sacred secretion is a natural process occurring in men and women on a monthly, yearly cycle that is directly correlated to your hormones and your inner harmony and balance. When the body's balanced mentally, physically, and emotionally, and is following under the guidance of its higher consciousness within, then these energies essentially allow the 7 chakras to be activated so that all the 7 glands, because don't forget the physical 7 glands, the thyroid, the pineal, the pituitary, the solar plexus, the prostate, the uterus, the sexual glands. These are all the physical manifestations of the glands that are the spiritual portals, which are the 7 chakras beyond these 7 glands. Because everything in the physical is a condensation or a physical representation of invisible intelligent forces. So when we are on the path and we're practicing alchemy and transmutation and white tantra, which is essentially working with the sexual energies we're using chastity, which doesn't necessarily mean to abstain from sex, but means to abstain from the any spilling of the energy, then this vessel here heats up and distills the vapors up the spinal column, and the vapors feed the nervous system. So the sun being the master distiller, the sun is the master distiller because the sun is the symbol and it takes on the physical characteristics of the invisible intelligence, which is the Christ. So how the sun kind of walks on water, when it reflects on water, so too the Spirit of Christ walks over the triumphs of life, the elements. Krishna was seen walking on the 7 heads of serpents. Moses parted the Red Sea. There's always some miracle with water because as humans, we too also have to produce these miracles with water by overcoming these elements within ourselves, within our psyche. The water is psychological. We have to use our psychological sun to evaporate our psychological water to create that mystic vapor within that is what is going to nourish the body of light or the solar body to be able to produce. Jesus said, with patience, you'll produce your soul. You are the witness producing a soul. That soul is able to carry you on to higher, more existential, subtle realities and dimensions. So the sun distills our souls by bringing it up out of the tomb of matter. As we said in the first video on this channel, that the Alvin Boyd Kuhn released the mysteries of the keys of the scriptures, where everything time that the scriptures are talking about a state of death or purgatory or the dungeon or the underworld, it's referring to the physical realm and not hell or in some other place. And when it's talking about life eternal, it's talking about the spiritual world of eternal spiritual glory. So in that sense, the physical body becomes a tomb or a cross, the cross of matter. So our inner spiritual sun evaporates the soul out of the animal nature, these animal impulses, which are those saps, those hormones, those crude chemical physical nature of our being, and that evaporates the water, and then the rest is absorbed into the physical. So this is how the inner and the outer are one. The physical sun that is hot purifies water and brings the rain, which is an outer symbol of that internal rain, because when our inner sun, which is sometimes it's the pineal gland when it exalts in Aries is the cerebrum where the sun exalts, and then sometimes Leo, the heart, where the sun rules. We have to work with the lion and the lamb, the head and the heart work together to create this solar evaporation of these energies that distill from the water. The water where? Scorpio. Scorpio rules the genital areas, procreation. Those energies below are the fire of Sagittarius. The fire must boil the water to extract the vapor, and the sun and the lion are the ones that are in charge of evaporating that, which is it's all symbols of purifying yourself, being pure, to leave behind the bestial, crude, selfish traps that humans get themselves into, and to kind of step into a new reality, a new dimension of soul, to where you're behaving from soul through the body rather than the body imprisoning the soul or on a sleep consciousness. So essentially the sun is our ability to awaken the consciousness within ourselves. So Virgo, being ruled by Mercury, gives us the quality of divine reason. This is the personal aspect of the creator, because the mother god is the personal aspect. In the same way in everyday life, we see that the mother takes on more of a personal attitude, a more personal interest in the ongoings, and as the father, Saturn, more aloof, nonetheless, very, very involved in the backbone. So Virgo being the personal aspect of the creator. The negative aspect, it brings about animal reasoning and desire. So not being able to think with well reason. So every zodiac sign has its positive and negative traits. So as we learn to distill the animal impulses that begin to build up in the abdomen or the lower dantian of the physical body, these sexual energies are purified by the adrenal hormones. If left alone, the energy evaporates up the spine. And as Samael Muir from the Gnostic tradition states, that seminization of the brain takes place because the cerebrum is able to increase its functioning and its voltage because it's nourished by those vapors. That's how Mozart, Beethoven, and all of the greats essentially were able to do the great work, because the great work is returning that which descends from above and returning it, like the prodigal son left heaven, went down to the more animal aptitudes of life, and then decided that there was nothing there, just a desert, and decided to rise back up to the Father. So it's the story of the descent of the soul into matter and the distillation upward and vaporization up into ethereal nature, because as human beings, we are both physical as well as spiritual. So if left alone, this energy can vaporize up the spine and allow us to actually self-actualize and understand our relationship to God and the Creator. So this is what takes the Christic seed atom up into the ventricles of the brain. As Manly P. Hall said, with those mysteries, when that spinal fire rises up the spine and reaches through the third ventricle of the brain, then the inner lantern's lit, and essentially you get the mystic eye, which allows you to see the truth and extract the hidden meanings in all things. Thank you.